So yeah, LSU SEC Media Day is coming up. Really looking forward to this season. I'm kind of at this point, we feel like I've kind of hammered previews for LSU. It's kind of just time to you're just really getting anxious to see some football. So LSU. The big question is the two tackles, Will Campbell. Emory Jones. Saw Will Campbell got a deal with a sponsorship with John Deere. I think is cool. Will Campbell, it's crazy with NIL, just a guy that's only going to be a true sophomore. And, it really truly was amazing that LSU had bookend starting tackles that were true freshmen last year. I think that is super cool. Maybe both, but which of those guys takes another step this year? I feel like Will Campbell has a really, really bright future ahead. I think this is a guy that could be a eventual top 3, top 5 pick in the when would he be eligible? The 2025 NFL draft. So yeah, both are outstanding tackles. It was really fun to watch them play. That's what people are talking about. Maybe Emory Jones has a future at guard. Some of the young guys, DJ Chester, Zealand's Hurd, the top 2 recruited incoming freshmen at offensive line that they bring in this year. Which one of those guys plays? So yeah, I mean the LSU offensive line is gonna be really strong, and there was numerous times that just Jane Daniels just had a clean pocket, and it was awesome to watch. And the one time that I thought the LSU offensive line didn't play great, and they were missing Will Campbell, was against Tennessee. If the Tennessee game, I thought they played okay, but that was a game where Tennessee's defensive line and they mixed up some blitzes. That was a game where, the LSU offensive line, even though they didn't play bad, they did not play good by any means. And that was a game where you really saw Jaden Daniels under some pressure. He was forced to kind of speed up and go through reads, and you saw him not really flustered, but you saw his play and efficiency as a passer really dip in that Tennessee game. The Tennessee game really was a game to forget about for LSU. The offensive production was tough. Defensively, they gave up some big plays. I know a lot of teams, even Alabama, gave up some big plays to Jalen Hyatt in Tennessee and Hendon Hooker, and just how explosive they were, especially with Hendon Hooker healthy and Jalen Wyatt out there at receiver. But LSU, you could argue that was their only, even Georgia, there was some things to take away from that game. The way their offensive line played, the things you saw from Garrett Nussmeier, the potential he has eventually. There were some things to take away from the Georgia game. The Tennessee game was one game where you just maybe you just throw away that film. Maybe it's kind of just a norm with the team that you don't look at that tape anymore. So yeah, that was a game certainly to forget about for LSU. But yeah, they did some nice things. I mean, destroyed Southern, destroyed New Mexico. Nice win over Mississippi State. I think that was a statement win for Brian Kelly. That was his first SEC win. I think that was really setting the tone for what this team could be, playing a full, complete game in against a tough, SEC team with a talented quarterback in Will Rogers. So Mississippi State game was a nice win. Obviously, Alabama probably might be their biggest win, but as far as setting the tone for next year, you could argue that the Purdue game was the best game relative to kind of looking ahead to see can this team keep playing? If this team can play at that level, you got to believe if we saw the LSU team that we saw against Purdue. Granted, I know that Purdue was missing some guys, LSU was missing some guys. It's the bowl games aren't taking this seriously. If LSU plays like that, that is the type of LSU all-around complete game that if they play consistently for 13, 14 games this year, that is the type of team that could win a national title. So a lot to take away from the Purdue game. That was really fun. Texas A&M game was just, that was, I think the Texas A&M game was obviously a game that was disappointing, but I think Brian Kelly, he's not going to sit there and make a bunch of excuses, but I think that was a game where they kind of understood that, their depth was thin, especially the defensive line. This is a A&M team that was frustrated. You could argue that, even though, coaches will say and players are, in their mind are trying to always stay hungry and always get better, always compete. That was a game where you get the feel that, maybe Texas A&M just wanted it a little bit more. And not to say that LSU didn't want it. Of course they wanted to win that game, but Texas A&M, you got to think, we kind of can just go out, play loose, play with nothing to lose. We're frustrated. We've got talent. We're a strong program with a lot of pride. So, it was even though it's a disappointing loss for LSU, I think it was one where, it was kind of Texas A&M just willing theirself to get a victory and spoil LSU's college football playoff chances. So I'm going to wrap with that. Thanks for tuning in to Bayou Bengals Football. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show.